Hi everybody, and welcome back to From This Corner TV. I'm Marilyn Dayton, your host and producer, and I'm so glad to see you. We've had over 3 years of shows together. Isn't that exciting? And I've got another great show for you tonight, okay? And I'm going to tell you about that. But first I want to remind you, we're not here just to entertain you. We're here to bring topics that are of interest to you and that help educate you, as you well know. Okay, so tonight we're going to do a little bit of all of that, I think. So let me ask you this. Would you love to learn how to handle stress and pain? Okay, that's not fun, but it's true. We all have stress and pain. And actually change your relationship with yourself? I've been doing this on and off lately, and it's kind of cool. So we're going to find out today a little bit more about that, because our guest has done that in her life, and she helps other people do that. Her name is Dr. Bridget Cooper, and she has written 5 books, all spread out in front of us here, and we're going to be talking about all of them. 4 bestsellers on communication, conflict, change, and empowerment. Important things in all of our lives. And her latest, Little Landslides, which I've got here and I have read, is an amazing book about her life, about overcoming heartache and hopelessness with the power of the mind and the spirit to carry you upward. We all need to be lifted up. So, amazing book. She's a good, great writer.
Thank you.
All right, so welcome to the show, Dr. B.
Thank you. It was so nice
Okay, I got to ask you this.
Yeah.
You're a cage rattler,
Yes.
change strategist, and thought shifter.
Yes.
And, okay.
Do you
What
wanna
does that all mean?
So it's funny, the cage rattler thing. I mean, change strategist, I help companies and individuals create change in their organizations and in their person. So I help to figure out that roadmap and all the things that come about on that roadmap. The thought shifter, to get to change, you have to shift thoughts. You have to think of a new way of being and understand that you're responsible for those thoughts, and those thoughts create all of the change necessary for changing how you feel and then changing how you behave. Mm-hmm. The cage rattler thing came to me as I was driving, because I had a friend and colleague coach kind of person come to me and say, what are you? Like, what's your title? And I said, I don't know. And we pushed on it. And I was driving one day and I thought, I'm a cage rattler. And she said, ooh, I like it. Sounds juicy. What does that mean? And I said, we are all in cages of our own design. We have all caged ourselves into these limited ways of thinking, feeling, and behaving, and therefore performing and living, that if we just got our cages rattled, if somebody could just let us understand that we have the key to get out, we could be out. So and then I, of course, on my 4th book, I put a caged lion inside of that, because that's the symbol, which is we are all lions. We just have to figure out how to get out of those cages we put ourselves in. So,
And we do. And sometimes throughout our lives, we put ourselves in several cages several times.
oh yeah.
And we have to work our way out of it. One of my guests one time said that we change our thoughts about ourselves, we change our careers, we change our lives 7 or 8 times in our lives.
At least. Yeah.
I think I've done it a little more than that, but that's okay. That's okay.
Because we're creative.
Yeah, exactly. You have to find what you want to do, what you're supposed to do, and sometimes that changes, right?
Go with the flow. Yeah.
So you have a very ambitious mission.
I do.
And I want to make sure I read it right. It's
Yeah.
to change the world,
Yep.
one hopeful life, team, organization at a time.
You got it. You got it.
So let's take the 3 of those and talk about that.
Okay, so organizations are made up of people. They're not entities unto themselves, so they're made up of people. So when I go into an organization, I'm looking at the organization as a whole and as a system of relationships that are functioning together. But I'm also looking at each individual within the organization and the role that they're playing and how they're creating or not creating success for the organization. And that starts at the entry-level person all the way up to the CEO. So looking at how the entire organization is functioning together. And within that organization and with those individuals are collective teams. So they're parts of this bigger cogged wheel, right? So I look at all of that and try to figure out, okay, where are the pain points, where are the problems coming from, and how can I step in to help provide a mirror, to hand them the keys to those cages that we talked about, so that they can create that change and live abundantly, prosper within their companies, and reduce some of the conflict and chaos that is defining a lot of companies and organizations.
Now you're talking about companies and organizations, businesses and...
Businesses, nonprofits. I've done, I think you have in my bio, my list of range in that. I mean, I've done work with Girl Scouts, Vietnam vets, the prison system, gun clubs, insurance companies, financial organizations. I mean, it runs the gamut. I mean, everybody has issues working together, figuring out what's in their way and figuring out how to get past some of those roadblocks. So I step in and help them. I've had countless organizations who are, and this comes about so much of, one part of the organization is saying, well, if only they would fix it over there. And then that part of the organization is pointing to another aspect of the organization, if only they would fix it over there. And then they're pointing to some other, and there was one company that years ago that I actually touched. Every part of the company, like every part of the organization contacted me and said, can you come do a staff retreat for us? Can you come do a staff retreat for us? Can you come do a workshop for us? And by the time I got to like the fourth or fifth point in this organization, I said, by the way, I've got a little secret to tell you. You're all blaming each other for the problem. Like, I haven't found the problem, because there is no the problem. You're all part of the problem, therefore you're all part of the solution. So getting people to recognize their own empowerment and where they start and end and what they can take ownership over creates a complete shift in how they operate. So,
and this is more than just the internal culture of a company.
Correct.
This is relationships.
Yeah, relationships, attitudes towards change, empowerment, communication, time management, organization. I mean, I hit it at all levels. We do strategic goal deployment, all the pieces that are necessary to be able to create change in an organization.
And did you have any special training for this particular type of work that you do, other than life?
Other than life. So my undergraduate is in human resources management. So I was an HR person for a number of years. And then I went back and got a master's degree in marriage and family therapy, which is underneath it systems theory. It's understanding how people function within a system and what the power dynamics are, what the roles are, how people take on those pieces, boundaries, power differentials, things like that. And then my doctorate is in educational leadership. So, and then through a series of just jobs and positions that I've held in leadership positions and with leaders and watching leaders and seeing leaders, I've just been consulting for 13 years on this. So it's been great journey.
You've had quite a journey
I
there.
have had quite a journey, and you
Learning
talked about the
a
7 changes. I'm like, I think I've already done them.
Yeah, I think you have.
Yeah, touched them already. Yeah.
Now I remember back in the 80s, they used to say, if there's more than one person, there's a relationship.
Correct.
And you have to work on the relationship between and with two people.
Yeah.
Nowadays, we're actually talking about relationships with ourselves.
Oh, heck yeah. That's the first most important one.
It is,
Yeah.
and we kind of glossed right over that back in the 80s. It was like, oh, yeah, you are who you are.
Right. Oh, absolutely. No, that's where I start. That's where I absolutely start, because there's so much unhealth in relationships and organizations and families and communities in our country and our world, and it comes from one place in my experience, one place, which is this culture of victim, of being done unto, of this sense that we don't have the power within ourselves to change anything. We don't have the power of choice. We don't have the power to decide anything. And so my bottom line is that victims create more victims. And I'm here to show up in the world to say that we get to choose differently. We get to choose when we've been victimized to stay in that victim role, or to become the powerful force that we can be to create fewer victims, because victims, if they identify that way, become victimized over and over again, because that's the path that they're on, right? We've all had that process where, why does that keep happening to you? It keeps happening with you and for you, but it's because there's this path. And victims create more victims, because victims end up, and we know this by the corrections literature and more, that when people are victimized, if they stay in that victim mentality, they become either perpetrators and or re-victimize themselves over and over again. So it's just this power, this dynamic that I am just trying to root out from an individual and a corporate level, because I walk into companies and, like I said, this part of the company is blaming this part, because they're all seeing themselves as victims of somebody else's actions. And I go in there and go, okay, so what? So they might be doing that. They might be messing this up. So what are you going to do about it? How are you going to step forward and become mission oriented and find your power so that you can make change in this organization and in your own life? And they always take the lessons and bring them home. So, yeah.
Well, that's a good, what should we call that, byproduct?
Yeah.
Or
it's really my primary intention,
Yeah.
because when people are happy in their life, and the happiest people, I say this, I make people better leaders by making them better people first. So when they're operating as better individuals in their own lives, in their own heads, in their own spirit, they're going to walk into an organization and make it better. That's just the nature of things.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a friend of mine, Liz Detterer. Do you know Liz?
Oh, absolutely.
Love her. She's got this statement. She says, "Holy shift."
Yes. You know? Holy shift. Yep, absolutely.
I love it. And I did a little work with her too. And we were in the conversation. It was supposed to be several hours. I think we were into it less than a half hour.
Yeah.
And that's what I experienced. And I said, "Oh, this is what you're saying." She says, "Yes." And she told me later, she says, "It struck me. Now what are we going to talk about?" Because she got it.
She already shifted, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
And you know, when someone like yourself goes into a company and you're looking at this dynamic of pain, problems, defensiveness, personal crises, you know, everything that exists there with these people. This is not something you can do overnight.
Oh, heck no. No, it took a whole lot longer than a day to manifest, so it's going to take some time to root out. But the source of that is I come at it from two perspectives. One is empowering individuals to have this thought shifting, to be able to see their power within any given situation, any given dynamic, and know where they begin and where they end, so that they can give up trying to change other people and take responsibility over changing themselves. So it's at the individual level. And then from a structural perspective, I hit it from the leadership perspective. So I do a lot of work with leadership assimilation and how the leader can create, you know, a good team, set a positive tone, you know, set a mission that people can follow and jump onto, because when they're led well and they're empowered strategically, change occurs much more swiftly. But if you don't get both of those things working together, then whatever the intervention is, whatever the work that we're doing together can fall to the wayside.
And it'll walk out the door with you when you leave.
Right. Yeah. And that does me no good, because I again want to change the world. So if they're not helping me, you know, if they're standing in the way of their own success, then that's not going to get us across the finish line.
So what kind of a process, time-wise, is this? You go in and you start working with them, and you work with them for several months?
It depends. It absolutely depends. So some companies have me come in and they just want to, the leader has had experience and they need somebody to kind of kick off and make the statements that they need to stand behind and be able to refer back to me as the person the powerhouse who walked in with the dynamic message and the irreverent sense of humor and, you know, the catchwords, and they're going to take it. And so he and I, or she and I, consult on the backside quietly, and while they take charge of the initiative. And then it'll run all the way from that end to they've got me engaged for a year and a half to be able to move change, because they've got a culture in crisis, they've got layoffs, or they've got reorganizations happening, or buyouts, or whatever that's going to thwart their process, and they need somebody on the ground, on site, or partially on site to be able to be that sounding board, kind of an organizational psychologist, as it were. So, yeah.
I can see of all of the different dynamics that you do run into, given the fact that we are all so different.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of different personalities, and you've got leaders, you've got managers who may not be managing well because they've got things in the way.
Correct.
You're fighting egos, you're fighting people who are carrying around their pain on their back in a backpack and their problems, and they're weighing them down, and they can't seem to climb out from under that.
Right.
I mean, this is quite a job you're talking
is
about
quite a
that
job.
you have to do.
I love it. I absolutely love it. The juicier, the better. It's funny because some of my colleagues who, they'll be doing some, one-off gig, or they're doing a different kind of work with an organization, and they run into this problem, and they call like the bat phone, the Bridget phone, and they're like, oh my God, have I got the problem for you? And they do it, and they know that when they're going to call me is when it's juicy and hard, and I'm gonna get messy and in the mud, and the more that is, they're like, the more I need to call Bridget. If it's easy and it's simple and it's just, let's just shift this, let's just reorganize this, let's just do this, they're like, Bridget could do this, but she's not gonna have much fun. But when it's messy and dramatic, and I mean, the more chaotic it is, the more I wanna get in there and wrestle with it.
So it's kind of perfect for you, isn't it?
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And you brought up little landslides right in the beginning. I mean, my why and my background just lend themselves really beautifully to that kind of work.
Well, why don't we talk about that?
Well, we can.
Because here, once again, is her book. She has written these other ones, but this is about her.
Yep.
And you feel like you're right in there with her because she just puts it all out on the table.
I do.
And talk about pain and overcoming.
Yeah. Pain. Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us your story.
Yeah. So to talk about little landslides, I have to talk for a moment about the first 4 books because they tee it up. And the way that they tee it up is that the first book, Feed the Need, is about communication. Oh yeah, there, she can grab it. Is on communication conflict, which is
Feed the Need.
Yeah, there you go.
There you
Feed
go.
the Need. And Feed the Need is about looking at conflict and communication in a different way, understanding that everybody comes with a core set of needs, and when they aren't being met, they're going to act in disruptive, destructive, dysfunctional ways that are going to disrupt things in an organization, in a relationship, in a home, in a community. And so looking at that and taking account of your own needs and also respecting the fact that other people have their needs that are operating and sometimes in conflict gives you a better, more respectful perspective on what that looks like. So I wrote that book to kind of say, okay, this is how I think about the world. This is how I'm coming at you, companies, organizations, so you understand my basis. So if we can kind of play together, if you can see the utility of this, then we can play together. And when I was presenting on that, a young woman came up to me at a workshop. I did like a 90-minute workshop on communication and conflict, and she said, I just wanted to let you know that you changed my life tonight. And I went, wow, personal record. I usually take like 3 hours to change lives, but 90 minutes, doing well here, right? So anyway, I said, you're gonna have to tell me more about that because that's pretty amazing. And she said, you gave me the tools tonight to face a girl who's been bullying me at school for a while. And I feel like I can go in there and I can hold my head high and I can manage her tomorrow. And I haven't felt like that.
Oh, wow.
And so she said, and then she followed that up with, do you have this book in teen edition? I was like, oh my God, you are brilliant. So I said no, and I like drove home, like don't tell the state police, like really fast that night. And I went home to Feed the Need, the transcript. I'm like, okay, how can I fix this to be a teen edition? And so I put out the teen edition, and she wrote the foreword. Love this girl. Yeah, Katie Adriani. Anyway.
That is this one.
Yeah, that's the teen edition. So she put that in her college transcripts. Yeah, she put that in with her college applications, and yeah, she's now in college. Just made 4.0 this semester. She's just great. Anyway, so that was the story. The second one, and then in the midst of that, because I wasn't planning on writing that one at all until Kate came up to me and made that prophetic statement, I was writing Stuck You. And Stuck You is about change. And it's about, because I go into companies and I talk about change and I do change initiatives and I do change strategy. And so Stuck You, and which my daughters were horrified, by the way, that I called it Stuck You.
Stuck You.
Yeah,
okay.
But it's Stuck University because there's a period after the U.
Yeah,
but
I
yes,
see
it's
that.
edgy. It's edgy. But it's about the change process and how you can manifest change from the inside out, from an individual perspective within a contextual perspective. So it's a guide for individuals and for companies at the same time. So when I go into a company and I'm doing a change strategy initiative, I bring that book and they give it to their employees and they walk through the change process together. So that was that one. And then Power Play came out because, here, I'll hand you this one because it's way across. So Power Play came out because Power Play was my commentary on what is killing corporate culture, which are 3 factors: stress, drama, and isolation. The stress that we're feeling, the drama that's occurring within organizations and relationships, and the isolation that we feel, whether that's isolation from one another, from our teams, or from the work and or the mission. So it looks at how can we mitigate some of those factors, and there's a lot of statistics that I bring out and a lot of information that I provide in that. But the reason why I brought up all 4 of those books before I talked about Little Landslides is that Little Landslides is the book that I was always supposed to write. And when my grandmother said to me when I was younger, she said, "Bridget, I hope you're writing all of this down." And I said, "Well, I'm not maybe writing it all down, but I've got it all in my head." This was the book that she wanted me to write. Now, there are different ways of writing it, but she wanted me to write a book about my life that showed other people the way to get through, past, and rise upward from it in a way that she admired and respected. And that, I mean, it meant the world to me that she saw me in that way because I needed that mirror. And so Little Landslides came from that space. So.
Okay. Well, before we talk about Little Landslides,
because
that's a long story and it's on its own. And I think what
is.
we'll do is we'll talk about that in the second half of the show. But this Power Play, I see the lion shows up quite often with you.
It does.
There's a lion there peeking through the cage.
Yep.
And it says, "Taming the World Circus from the inside out."
Absolutely, yeah. Because again, I'm biting a whip on the back picture, which everyone gets a kick out of.
I just looked at that picture with her biting a whip.
Biting a whip, yeah, it is. It's a bull whip, everyone. So, but yeah, lions are, and I talk about this jokingly in a lot of my presentations. But when I ask people, about different animals, they're different token animals. The 2 animals that I see that are most in contrast in organizations and with individuals are the squirrel and the lion. So the squirrel is it's got this frenetic, indecisive, all over the map energy. A friend of mine puts on his tagline on his emails, "The road to indecision is littered with flattened squirrels," right? Because squirrels are just, they're running in the way and then they're like, "Oh, wait, no, I want to go the other way." And then they go that way. And so, and I used to joke, and I still do this on stage a lot, is I talk about my mother being a squirrel on Ritalin or something. She was so, had this vibrational energy where you just, And what happens when you have a squirrel mentality, when you're coming from a squirrel perspective, is you don't have the power of decision. You don't have the power of intention. And so the contrast between the lion and the squirrel is that the squirrel is not calm enough, clear enough, intent enough to be able to bring their full power into any moment. So they're flitting about and getting run over in the process. Whereas the lion is conserving all of his or her energy for the moment that they need it. They are just watching, waiting, considering, pondering, knowing when that right moment is, and then acting. And so I want more lions out there, not because they tear the flesh from their victims, although that comes in handy sometimes, but because they are bringing their full power to every moment. And that is what is going to bring the change and the passion and the love and the healing and all of the things that we want in our relationships and ourselves and our companies and our world, if we're bringing the full power of ourselves to every moment. So that is what Power Play, that is what the work is all about. And that's why the lion is my token animal. But we'll also talk about the backstory to the lion image when we get to Little Landslides, because as you know, there's a lion on the back of Little Landslides for a very important reason too. So we'll get to how the lion has always kind of been with me. So
I love the way you think through everything.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
It's interesting because sometimes we see this and we do this and we think this far, and then there's this and we maybe think in steps, but you're going like this and then coming back and then going like this and coming back and crossing over. I mean, your mind is very busy.
It is very busy. It had a lot of time to ponder. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that I have done over the years and what I bring, the gifts that I bring to people and to the world is that I look at things from so many different perspectives, because that was the way that I survived, was by being able to see things from this vantage point and this vantage point and this vantage point and over here, so that I could try to solve problems that were beyond my scope of problem solving abilities. So that time, that consternation, that pondering, that visioning allowed me to be able to see it from a lot of different vantage points and to be able to try to bring solutions to things. And also in that, it gave me the ability to rest in the knowledge that I couldn't solve everything, but that I could at least try to see it well enough and broadly and specifically enough to be able to try to solve it when I could, and try to give people a calmer, more intentional, all coming from intention of what is it that, so I could operate out of knee-jerk reaction. I could just react to whatever it is that you've thrown at me. But if I want this goal over here, how am I going to get over there? And so being able to see it from all those places allows me to be able to cut through all the shaft that keeps us from seeing where is it that we really want to be and trying to direct our attention there.
And that's something that we all battle with, all the shaft and the stuff in the way of we're peaking and peaking.
Right.
And that makes sense to me because I've read this.
Yeah. Well,
yes. So I
You have read-
understand. I
you have read
understand
that.
totally what you're talking about.
Yep.
So this is a good spot for
Good
us
segue.
to take a little break. Yay. Okay.
Thank you.
And we're going to come back with Dr. B, and we're going to talk about why she says she was raised by wolves.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so hang in there. We'll be right back.
You always made sure I brushed my teeth.
You told me that smart was cool.
You always told me to dream big.
To all of those parents who took the time to make raising their children their most important job, we'd like to say,
Thank you.
Thank you.
From the bottom of my heart, thanks, Mom and Dad.
this message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
If you keep tanning, indoors or out, the effects of harmful rays will show up on your skin. Wrinkles, age spots, and an increased risk of melanoma, the second most common cancer in women 15 to 29. Stop tanning. Time may not be on your side. Learn how to protect your skin at spotskincancer.org. A message from the American Academy of Dermatology.
You'd do anything to take care of that spot on your lawn. So why not take care of that spot on your skin? If you're a man over 50, you're in the group most likely to develop skin cancer, including melanoma, the cancer that kills one person every hour. Check your skin for suspicious or changing spots. Go to spotskincancer.org to find out what to look for. A message from the American Academy of Dermatology.
Oh, hey, bud. Where are you headed?
Just gonna hang out.
With Gary and Todd?
Yeah?
I've been meaning to ask you, is there any drinking going on in this crowd?
No?
If any of your buddies ever pressure you to take a drink, just tell them you promised your dad you wouldn't. I'd do anything to keep you safe.
Okay, I will.
I hope this is working.
I promise. Love you too, Dad.
They really do hear you. For tips on what to say, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Dr. Bridget Cooper, and we're going to hear her amazing story. And once again, you can find her books on her website, okay? And she's an amazing writer.
you.
And the Feed the Need is in both teen and adult formats, okay? So a lot of teenagers out